All right, deep divers, welcome back. Ready to get our minds blown wide open again.
Always up for a good mind blowing.
Perfect. So today well, you guys sent in a ton of stuff on The Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I know, right? Well, you guys sent in like excerpts from the book itself, obviously, but also that Wikipedia summary and even that podcast with Naval Ravikant.
Right, yeah, with Brett Hall, yeah.
That's the one. So much to dig into. I mean, we're talking big questions here, right? Like, seriously, is there no limit to what humans can achieve?
That's a good question. A big one, for sure.
It is. And then how do we know things that we haven't experienced,
Yeah.
like firsthand?
Yeah. It's like, how do we go beyond just what's right in front of us?
Exactly. And then to tie it all together, what's the link between like creativity and finding good explanations for things and A&D, a brighter future?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Definitely a lot to unpack. A whole lot.
Absolutely. Well, luckily, you're fantastic at explaining these super complex ideas. So, listeners, I think we're in good hands.
I appreciate that. I'll do my best.
So, I guess, like, to jump right in, one of Deutsch's big things seems to be this idea that progress is not about predicting the future, right?
Yeah, he kind of flips the script on that.
He does. He really does. It's more about understanding the world, right?
Yeah.
Explaining how things work, and then using that understanding to, like, I don't know, to solve problems, to build new things.
Exactly. To create, to actually change things based on, what we learn about how the world actually is.
Right. It's like instead of just waiting for the future to happen, we're like actively building it,
It's a more active role.
Yeah.
Instead of passive, we're active participants.
I like that. Active participants in creating the future.
Okay.
Right. So Deutsch uses this example, right, about looking at this blurry image. At first he thinks, okay, it's a galaxy. Then maybe it's a star, but it turns out it was just like a defect in the photo,
Right. It's a great example of how our interpretations, like how we see the world, it really depends on the explanations we have. And sometimes those explanations, they can be dead wrong.
Yeah. And it's funny because if a physicist like Deutsch can get fooled by a blurry photo,
It makes you wonder, what are WE getting wrong all the time?
Exactly. It's like everyone's walking around with these defects,
Yeah.
These wrong ideas about how things
And
work.
it's a constant process of learning, of refining our understanding, getting closer to how things actually are.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you. So if we're all like constantly trying to figure things out to understand the world, it kind of makes me wonder, if we're just these tiny beings in this massive universe, does anything we do even matter?
The big question of significance. Right? It's easy to feel small when you think about the scale of things out there.
It really is. Like a supernova doesn't care about our problems, right?
Well, from a purely like physical perspective, yeah, we are tiny, we're minuscule. But Deutsch, he makes this argument that it's our ability to understand things, to explain the world, to create, that's what makes us different,
So it's not about our size, it's about our abilities.
Exactly, our capabilities.
Yeah.
He calls humans, get this, universal constructors.
Universal constructors.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that even mean?
It means we can take like raw materials, anything really, and using knowledge, we can build almost anything. The only limits are the laws of physics and what we know.
So, like, even though we're physically small, we have this huge potential.
Huge. He uses this example of, like, imagine a space station, right? But built from the dust and gas floating around in space. Sounds crazy, right?
Yeah, like how would you even...
Exactly. But that's his point. With enough knowledge, it's not impossible. The potential's there.
Okay, I can kind of see that. So if humans are these universal constructors, does that mean like each of us, we have that power too?
In our own way, yeah. We can use knowledge, solve problems, build things. Maybe not a space station, but
a business or a piece of art or even just like a better way to organize my to-do list.
Exactly. It's all about using what we know to shape our world, even if it's just our own little corner of it.
I like that. So Deutsch is saying that this whole process of like creating, solving problems, searching for better explanations, that's what makes us, I don't know, infinitely powerful.
He'd say it marks the beginning of our infinite potential. And he specifically points to, the Enlightenment as the starting point.
The Enlightenment. Reason, logic, all that good stuff.
Right. That's when we really started embracing this idea of solving problems, of seeking knowledge, of using our minds to understand the world.
So it's like the Enlightenment was this spark, and it set off this chain reaction of progress that hasn't stopped.
A chain reaction powered by good explanations. Yeah, that's the fuel.
Okay, I'm starting to see where he's going with this. So it's not just about being smart, right? It's about adopting this mindset of seeking explanations, of always trying to understand things better.
It's about unlocking our potential, not just as individuals, but as a species.
This is getting pretty deep. But I have a feeling it's about to get a whole lot deeper because, Deutsch doesn't shy away from calling out the bad explanations, the ideas that are holding us back.
Oh, yeah, he definitely has some thoughts on that. Some strong thoughts.
Well, listeners will dive into those bad explanations when we come back. Stay tuned.
So before the break, we were talking about, Deutsch's ideas about how progress isn't always easy, that sometimes things go wrong.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of stuck on this multiverse thing. It sounds like, I don't know, pure science fiction.
I know, it's a lot to take in, but the thing is, it comes from trying to explain some really weird stuff in quantum physics.
Quantum physics, yeah, that's always a trip. Like, I remember hearing about this double slit experiment, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a classic. It shows that, like, particles, tiny things like photons or electrons, they can act like waves. Like they can go through two slits at the same time and then create this interference pattern.
two slits at the same time.
Ugh.
I mean, how is that even possible? It's like being in two places at once.
Exactly, and that's what's so mind-blowing about it. It's like our everyday understanding of how things work, it just kind of breaks down at the quantum level.
Okay, so how does the multiverse explain this?
Well, one interpretation is that it's not that the particle is in two places at once, it's that there are multiple universes, and in each one, the particle goes through a different slit.
Well, hold on. So you're saying, like, every time a particle has a choice to make, reality splits, and there's a new universe for each possibility.
That's the idea. And when we, observe the particle, we're basically choosing one of those universes.
Okay, this is where my head starts to spin. So there are, like, infinite versions of me out there, each making different choices.
It's a wild thought, right? And while it sounds crazy, the multiverse interpretation, it actually explains a lot of the weirdness we see in quantum physics. It makes the math work out.
Okay, so even if it sounds like science fiction, it might actually be the best explanation we have right now.
Right. And it goes back to what we were saying about the power of good explanations. Sometimes the craziest sounding ideas, they turn out to be the most accurate.
So if our understanding of reality is constantly evolving, I mean, does that mean there's no limit to what we can discover and learn?
Deutsch, he'd say there's no inherent limit to knowledge creation. We're universal explainers, meaning we have the capacity to understand anything in the universe.
The universal explainers. Wait, I thought we were universal constructors.
Both. We can build things and explain things, and those two things, they go together. To build something complex, like a space station, you need to understand physics, engineering, all sorts of stuff.
Right. Right. So you're saying there's no limit to what we can potentially understand and explain, whether it's the physical world or like abstract concepts like math or even art.
It all comes back to finding better explanations. And that's what makes this idea of the beginning of infinity so powerful. It means our journey of discovery, it never has to end.
But if there's no limit to knowledge, wouldn't that also mean things can get infinitely complex? How do we even wrap our heads around that?
Well, that's where the concept of universality comes in. Some systems or entities, they have the potential to do an unlimited range of things.
Okay, are you talking about computers?
Kind of. Think about the universal Turing machine. It's this theoretical model of computation, and it can simulate any other computer.
So like our laptops and smartphones, they're universal machines.
They're based on those principles. Yeah, they can do so many different things. But Deutsch's point is that universality, it goes beyond just computers. He says humans are universal explainers. We can understand anything with the right knowledge.
Whoa, that's a big claim. So like we have a built-in universal Turing machine in our minds.
It's more than just an analogy. It suggests that we have this potential for unbounded knowledge. We're not limited to just the physical world. We can understand math, morality, beauty, anything.
So there's really no limit.
That's what he argues, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty optimistic view of human potential.
It is. But what about creativity? We've talked a lot about explanations and logic, but isn't creativity something different?
A lot of people think that, but Deutsch, he connects creativity to the idea of memes.
Wait, memes? Like those funny pictures online?
Well, that's one type of meme, but more broadly, memes are any ideas or behaviors that spread from person to person.
So like a catchy song, a scientific theory, even a fashion trend, those are all memes.
Yep. And like genes, they can replicate and evolve. But memes, they replicate through understanding.
So every new invention, every piece of art, every scientific breakthrough, it's a new meme being created.
Exactly. And that means memes are closely tied to human creativity.
So a society that's open to new ideas, that values critical thinking, that would be like a breeding ground for new and beneficial memes.
Right. A dynamic society, that's what he calls it. And that brings us to one of the most interesting parts, AI.
AI, artificial intelligence. Can AI be creative, like really creative, in the same way humans are?
It's a big question. A lot of people think AI can't be truly creative because it doesn't have emotions or intuition. But remember, Deutsch defines creativity as generating new explanations.
And AI is really good at processing information, finding patterns, maybe even coming up with new explanations.
That's the idea. So could AI compose music, write poetry, even come up with groundbreaking scientific theories? It's a possibility.
Wow. Okay, that's both fascinating and a little scary. But before we go too far down the AI rabbit hole, I want to come back to something you mentioned earlier. You said progress isn't always a smooth ride.
Right. There are bumps along the way.
Exactly. If the beginning of infinity means we have this unlimited potential, what about the setbacks, the failures? What about the potential for things to, really go wrong?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll dig into after the break. We'll explore the potential pitfalls on this journey of infinite progress and how to navigate them while staying true to the principles of reason, optimism, and the search for good explanations.
Okay, so we're talking about the beginning of infinity, this idea that, humans have this unlimited potential. But I'm still thinking about, the real world. Like, what about all the setbacks, the failures? Things don't always go smoothly, right?
That's true. Progress, it's definitely not a straight line. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and yeah, sometimes things go wrong, sometimes badly wrong.
So how do we square that with this whole idea of infinite progress? It seems like, there could be some pretty big bumps along the way.
Well, Deutsch's optimism, it's rooted in this belief that problems, they're solvable. Like, with enough knowledge, with enough ingenuity, we can overcome anything. He even says that, like, all evils, all failures, they come down to insufficient knowledge.
Well, that's a pretty strong statement. You're saying, like, if we knew enough, we could solve poverty, disease, war.
I'd say, yeah, eventually. It doesn't mean the solutions are easy or that we'll find them right away, but it does mean we shouldn't just give up when things get tough.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like, instead of getting discouraged, every problem becomes this opportunity to learn, to figure things out, to create new knowledge, and that knowledge gets us closer to a solution.
Exactly. It's a shift in perspective. Instead of focusing on the limitations, you focus on the possibilities.
Yeah, that's actually really empowering. It's like we're not just passive passengers. We're actively creating the future, shaping our reality with every choice we make.
It's like we were talking about before with humans as universal constructors. We have this amazing ability to take things, even problems, and turn them into something new, something better.
And it's not just about, survival. It's not just about building a better mousetrap. It's about pushing the boundaries, exploring the unknown, constantly learning and discovering.
That's a great way to put it. It's what makes us different. This drive to solve problems, to build a better future. It's like it's in our DNA.
And Deutsch would say that's what the beginning of infinity really means. It's this unique human capacity for unlimited knowledge creation.
Exactly. It's like imagine standing on the shore, looking out at this vast ocean of possibilities, and we have the power to explore it, to discover anything we set our minds to.
It's a beautiful thought.
Mm.
But, realistically, how do we actually create a society that embraces this kind of thinking? The world feels pretty divided right now, pretty pessimistic.
Yeah, that's a real challenge. And that's where Deutsch's emphasis on good explanations, it becomes so important because one of the biggest problems we face today, it's the spread of bad explanations, misinformation, ideologies that, they hold us back.
Yeah, it's like we're drowning in information, but so much of it is just noise.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to know what to believe.
It is, and that's why critical thinking skills, they're more important than ever. We need to learn how to filter the information, how to evaluate explanations, how to tell what's true and what's not.
It's about being skeptical, right?
Yeah.
But not in a cynical way, in a way that encourages us to question things, to demand evidence, to keep learning and updating our understanding of the world.
That's it. And that's something we can learn to do both individually and as a society. We can build education systems that encourage critical thinking, open debate, that value the search for truth.
So by creating a society that values knowledge, reason, creativity, we're essentially creating the conditions for this infinite progress to continue.
Hmm.
But how do we actually put that into practice?
Well, think of it like this. If the Enlightenment was the spark, the thing that started this whole journey towards the beginning of infinity, then cultivating this kind of society, a society that embraces good explanations, critical thinking, optimism, that's how we keep that spark alive. That's how we keep the fire burning.
That's a powerful way to put it. It's not just about inheriting the legacy of the Enlightenment. It's about actively building on it, making it even stronger.
And that's something we can all be a part of.
That's what I love about Deutsch's work.
Oh.
It's not just a theory, it's a call to action. It's an invitation to participate in this incredible adventure of discovery and problem solving.
And the best part is the adventure never ends. The beginning of infinity, it's not a destination, it's a journey. And it's a journey we're all taking together.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this amazing deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with this. If the beginning of infinity is really about our ability to explain the world, to create new knowledge, what are the explanations you need to find? What problems are you passionate about solving? What contributions will you make to this journey?
Those are the questions to keep asking. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. And until next time, keep searching for those good explanations.